This is the second time I've had interaction with high school students through you guys, and I am totally impressed by the questions. I teach in college and in medical school and school of public health, and I, I would have expected that high school students might not have quite as sophisticated or questions, but the questions that were asked today and in previous encounter, really, really good. And I suspect that's because people who are drawn to this activity are really concerned with understanding the world we live in and how it can be changed, be it COVID-19 pandemic or other issues around the quality of life on our planet. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. I was a high school student once. I think I ask good questions. So, but it's great to hear what people have to say and to be challenged. It's challenging for me to think about, well, what really is the answer to that question? Well, I think it's a good opportunity for them to think somewhat collaboratively about important issues where we need fresh ideas. In my experience, people during their educational process are at the right time to really think together around tough problems. And I know the students probably right now are sitting there trying to figure out what the implications are for the future, what the new normal will look like, or I would like to say maybe even the new abnormal, because what we have now as normal is really hard to tolerate. So the future is going to have to be abnormal from our present point of view. The other thing I think that they may get from this is validation, that somebody who has a lot of experience, such as myself, validates the legitimacy of their work and validates the worthiness of their questions. So I hope they have that sense. It should give them confidence to press on. So I think it aligns very well. What I like about the Model G20 is something I can't do in my usual educational life. It perspectives from different parts of the world. I think that's so important. The global pandemic we're in now really emphasizes how important it is to learn from other countries, both their mistakes and their successes. At least in the United States, we're not that curious in general about what goes on in the rest of the world. We're a little arrogant. We think, this is America, blah, blah, blah. But in fact, there's just obviously tremendous amount to be learned. So in my own teaching, I try and bring in global perspective. The basic issues align really, really well, but what you're doing, what these students are doing, I think has a truly global collaborative emphasis that's incredibly important. Well, for the current students and probably past people, kind of it's on your shoulders. The earlier in the educational process we start this, the better, because you'll have more time to build your knowledge, confidence, and to get your ideas discussed and perhaps validated. I think this should begin, frankly, in junior high school or even earlier. But when we teach social studies or we teach math or whatever it is we teach, you can bring in the global problems that we face to give them relevance. This may seem a bit out there, but in the United States, we have what we call K-12 education and life skills. And at some point during that education, we start talking about life skills related to sexual activity. Why not bring in global problems of HIV/AIDS or syphilis or whatever it might be and use those to illustrate the basic principles we're trying to teach, make it relevant. If you're going to teach in medical school about the science of diabetes, well, then talk about the global pandemic of diabetes and bring that in so that people are really understanding what the nature of the problem is. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity at this point in high school education, but could theoretically start even earlier. For future students, if you get the opportunity to do this, I mean, of course you should do it. I think the team that has put this together is excellent. They've been incredibly generous and flexible in allowing me to do my thing. I don't know who else is giving talks or whatever, but I just felt totally enabled and given free rein to be who I am and to tell you what I know. So I think it's a really wonderful opportunity. Go for it. Yeah, I should say one other thing that as you and I, we've discussed before, there's a lot of international hostility, distrust among countries for one reason or other. Some of it justified, some of it due to bigotry, prejudice, and xenophobia. Uh, Students sitting together in a place like this are relatively immune to that. This is open space where understanding occurs and tolerance builds and curiosity is valued. So I think it's incredibly important. I'd love to see more of this kind of thing. By the time you get to be my age, your attitudes are hardened, they're difficult to change. So why not do this earlier in the educational process? Well, thank you for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to try and be helpful, and I hope I was. I did my best.